What's good, people? Welcome to this week's episode of the Indian Dots podcast. This week, we discuss the Empire State of Mind with Sathnam Sanghera, hate comments that we received on YouTube on our topics of racism. Speaking of racism, we also covered the cricket crisis with Azeem Rafiq and the racism encounters that he's dealt with. We've also covered what the word FOMO means, but how there's a new version of it, which is HOGO. You want to know more about HOGO? You've got to listen through to the next bit. We'll see you there. What's going on, people? I have a very squeaky chair today, so I'm really sorry if it starts squeaking in the background. We are joined by the doctor this week and just myself. It's been a while. There. I heard the squeak. There.
You naughty boy.
Thank you. I don't know how it happened, man. I got this chair from my work and it's just started squeaking like a madman recently. Only today.
They're
It's one of those.
What's the word? They're what do you do to first year students? Ragging.
WD-40.
They're ragging you. That's what they're doing.
What?
It's not really a term we use here in the UK, but in India, when people go to college, they call it there, which is our university. Ragging. So like making you do things in your first year, drinking competitions, doing things in your boxer shorts. Like, yeah, they're ragging you, man.
You mean like an induction?
Yeah.
So in
America,
not
the frat fraternities, they make you do things.
Yeah, it's called a.
Yeah, there is a word.
What's
for
it called? Is it like
initiation?
A dare or some
Initiation, isn't it?
Initiation. That's the one.
You love it.
Boom.
You love it.
Play a bit taboo, mate. Love it.
Very good.
Initiation. Yeah, that's pretty much it. To be fair, no, I bought the chair and they gave me the money for it. I don't know why it's squeaking. I'll probably have to take it apart.
So it's not from work. They're just giving you the.
No, they actually gave me the money for it to buy a chair.
It's your fault.
It probably is my fault, but I was told to get a grey chair that suits the decor of the flat because you can't be messing with the feng shui of the flat, innit?
Sorry, you were told by work or your wife?
Who do you think?
Okay. Your wife is work, isn't it? He's the real boss, isn't it? Very good.
100%. 100%.
Very good.
So,
and that
doctor.
is control.
That is true control.
Coercive control. Yeah.
Yes. So there's this new movement going around, Karan, called hassle of going out.
Hassle of going out.
It's called the opposite. It's called HOGO, which is the opposite of FOMO.
Fear of missing out versus hassle of going out.
Hassle of going out.
Explain this one to me. Where is this shit come from?
So hassle of going out.
Yeah.
Hassle of going out is basically a desire to go out, but you can't be bothered to go through the hassle of getting ready to go out, so you bail.
Okay, and is this...
That's basically it.
Okay, and this isn't from a sexist standpoint, but...
It is. It's a common issue now in hospitality.
No, but is it more for
restaurants.
girls or is this more for boys?
I don't know. It's just a new movement that's going around with these the kids nowadays, you know. Obviously, people are going to have some social anxiety and stuff after what's happened over the last year and whatnot. But I still think it's a weird movement. I thought everyone would have been itching to go out, but the human mind, I guess, is sort of a creature of habit. If you keep on making it do the same thing again and again that it doesn't want to.
But are you saying...
It eventually just adapts to its conditions?
Is it the unwillingness to go out, or it's like, I made a restaurant reservation, bam, I'm going to cancel it?
No, it's made a restaurant reservation, I'm not going. It's too much hassle to go.
Yeah, so you cancel it. That's
one of those.
Yeah, okay. So you initially want to go.
Cancel it or just not even show up, mate.
Oh, you don't go. Yeah. But initially you had the mindset, or you wanted to go, but then you don't go.
Yes. So people either don't show or they cancel. That's pretty much it.
That's weird, man. Like, yeah, I mean, sometimes...
Even people who pay in advance are bailing as well.
Wow.
Or they just don't show up. Which isn't free money for a restaurant. I would think, that's free money, but it's not. You're losing seats. You're losing reservations for people that would pay to show up. Normally,
all the people that
when you drop a deposit on something like that, people, it's like you're semi-committing to going. Because it goes towards your bill, doesn't it?
Well, I'll give you a real example, man. So on the weekend, we had a family, kind of a couple of birthdays, and there's supposed to be 11 of us. Due to a family bereavement on another side of Shindy's family, the majority couldn't attend, so it went from 11 to 4. But we'd paid £110 deposit. They wouldn't refund the deposit. They'd hold it for another day. We're like, okay, might as well go. So 4 of us went with £110 on the thing. And then our game was, Right, so now we need to eat £110 worth because they weren't going to get
Bingo.
us back. Yeah.
Let's do food bingo. Let's go.
Right, and then in the end we spent 160 quid. And I was like, getting it better here. I was like, oh my god, how much do we eat, man? So yeah,
Where did you go and eat?
I went to Varanasi.
Okay.
It's top of Broad Street. Yeah, it's good. The second time I've been there, I went there first for one of my friend's pre-wedding kind of dinners. And I was genuinely really impressed. I mean, it's one of those places where the decor, they've clearly invested a lot of money in the decor. It's a bit like, I don't know if you've been to Tattoo in Birmingham, which is a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
Really amazing decor, but I don't think the food is as good as decor. Where here, decor's amazing, food's on point, the staff are just a bit slow in the head. That's my only feedback.
Oh,
yeah.
What do you mean slow in the head? Can't be saying that now.
Just like, okay, example, right? So we got some food that's left over. Okay, I'm going to ask you what you would do, and then you tell me. So there's dal.
Box it up.
Right, listen. So there's dal, lentil. Okay. There's palak, guys, spinach. There's some.
Wait, you went to an Indian restaurant?
Yeah, Varanasi's an Indian restaurant.
Go on, man.
Listen. It's 11 people. I didn't pick. They want to go. Listen, it's good. It's really good.
Oh,
food.
okay, fine. I thought you picked, and I expected
No, I
better.
didn't pick, but
Okay.
genuinely there are a few good. So a little side note here, guys. Itihas, Pushkar, Plaza, Five Rivers, and Varanasi. Those are my top 5 restaurants in Birmingham and Warsaw.
Funny how 3 of them are Indian food.
No, I'm saying top 5 Indian places.
Oh, I thought you said top 5 restaurants.
Indian. Those are only Indian ones. Yeah. They're the Indian ones I want to go to. Yeah. So yeah, we got dal on the table, lentil. Right. We got dahi, yogurt. We got palak, spinach. Paneer or kofte. So it's some sort of cheese dish, right? There's enough left over. Like I said, you have to spend the money. Could you please box it up? How would you expect what I've just said to you to be boxed up?
I would expect you to give me Tupperware.
No, they provided that. It's not that. They had the Chinese boxes or whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't put all the food in.
Box it up separately.
Right.
Box it up
so
separately.
they put it in one box.
What? You mix all those things together?
Like, you don't. I should not have to give direction on how to box food up in a restaurant. Okay? Feedback.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. The decor does not.
So when it was given to you in one Tupperware box, what did you say?
No, it's one of those. So we were going to go German market. So it came in a bag. And then we didn't check it. We thought, it's going to be fine. Why check it? And then we got home and we were like, what is this? Like, concoction of once nice Indian food now looks like vomit. And it's just...
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? It's just terrible.
Did you call him?
No, I don't care, man. It's gone now. Like, what feedback am I going to give there? That's not good use of my time.
I don't know.
How's it going to change
your
your
outcome? You
outcome?
could be saving another person's food seconds, Karen.
Yeah, not in my interest. So, yeah.
Not in your interest.
No. It's like I would...
Well, you're too good for that.
No, not too good. It's like I wouldn't go to TripAdvisor just to specifically be spiteful and say something like that. I'm like... But
No, I wouldn't do that. I'd call him and give him constructive feedback. I wouldn't go full Karen mode on flipping TripAdvisor and say, the food was great, but X, Y, and Z. Like, I wouldn't
not
do
worth my
that.
time, man. That's gone. If it happens again, I know what to say when I'm there.
Have you seen the new movement of people doing TripAdvisor outcomes on Gurdwaras?
Oh my god.
Oh my god, indeed. I saw a glimpse of it on
Are they
Twitter.
rating? Sorry?
They're rating like, oh yeah, everything was really nice.
Is this based on a wedding or an event or a kind of party?
No,
or?
it's based on the actual Gurdwara.
No, but based on you attending a specific... The Gurdwara is very good
I
at
think
hosting
it's
a
just
wedding.
based on the Gurdwara itself. I don't think it was a specific event.
really
I think it's TripAdvisor or Google's own reviews. I can't remember, but I saw it on Twitter and I was thinking, how have people got time for this, man? You thought, let me go to a Gurdwara and go home and think, let me write a review. Even if it's good or bad, but for a Gurdwara, it's a selfless place, man. Why are you going to rate and review it?
I think you made a very valiant point there. Where does the time come from? Right, and look, you know I say this to you all the time. It's like we have so many hundreds of tasks to do each day. Whenever the task presents itself, does this task need to be done? Question number 1. Question number 2, do I need to do it? That's all I need to ask, okay, before I do anything. So like...
That's it. Just those 2 things. Is that what you ask yourself every day?
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
the question that precedes that, the question I don't ask myself, but I know is, what's the best use of my time and energy today? That's it. Okay?
That's fair.
And then if it's not the best use of my time and energy, whose best time and energy is it? And then get them to do it.
So what you're saying, Karen, is I delegate very well.
It's not easy to delegate, right? So it's a really good, really, really honed skill. Because people don't have the confidence. A, they're perfectionists, so they don't want to give up control. Control is really important for people. And B, they don't know how to communicate it effectively, so it doesn't come across as, I want you to do this. Or you need to do this. That's not the skill of the art.
They don't say it politely. They don't add kindly in front of it, do they, Karan?
They don't empower them. It's about empowering the other person that they are valuable.
Is it? I don't think it's empowering. I think it's just asking nicely. If you ask anyone nicely, they'll do anything for you, man. Chris Rock had a fantastic joke about this.
Go on.
He said if you ask somebody nicely to do something, actually no, if you say something with enough like authority, they'll do it.
Yeah, authority.
But if you don't, if you say like, excuse me, would you mind? If you say it like that, they're not going to bother.
You need to use what we call a presupposition. So, would you mind versus how can this get done? What needs to happen for me to feel good in the situation? Pause.
Yeah, how many times have you tried this on Shindy and she's told you to fuck up?
No.
How many times?
It's fine. With Shindy, obviously she understands NLP, so I don't do it with her. But I think with us, we are very clear what our skill sets are. So she'll just take over. She'll be like, I'm much better at this than you. I'm like, yes, you are. And that's it. End of conversation. Whereas I know what I'm good at. What's been a revelation, this is a little side tangent. So recently, Shindy had her car insurance due. Okay, so it's all calendarized from mine. We have a shared calendar.
Worst time of the year. Why is it? I hate it.
Oh, right.
I can't be bothered, man. I hate doing car insurance
dude,
stuff.
You're such a guys, listeners like Shindy and Indy are just from the same cloth, man. Whereas me and Sanj,
we're so similar. It must be an indie thing. All right, it must be an indie thing.
Shindy thing.
There you go. It must be an indie thing.
It's in the calendar. Okay, and so the way my calendar system works with these types of things is you have the start date, you have the end date. You have a 31-day reminder, okay? The 31-day reminder is going to have the previous policy, it's going to have the phone number, it's going to have the previous price you paid.
Oh, wow,
it's going to have
you do all the grunge work.
Yeah,
okay.
It's all there. What does she do? She lives to the day before. Here's the thing. Here's here's the wisdom, right? So we've been married, we've been together a long time. Now I can't get Shindy to be like me in those situations where I'm like, 31 days out, bang, it's done. The phone call's happened, I've sorted it, right? Deal secured in the calendar for next year, done. So it's like, how can I facilitate and help Shindy in the way that she wants to do it? That's where I am now. I can't get her to come here. I've gone to her now. I'm like, okay, I'm going to help you in the way you want to do it. So it's like, I know what I'm good at, so I'm going to get the quotes up, here's the phone number, do this, and I'm going to do all the filing on the back end. And now...
What did you learn off the back of that?
No, we've done the learning. Now this is like 1 year on now. So now it's like, I don't take that stress on now. I'll remind Shindy. I know she'll get it done, but she's very much when it needs to get done, it gets done. Whereas I'm a more proactive...
Yes, I'm that person. When it needs to get done, I'll do it.
Yeah, I don't like you types of people, man.
You don't like them, so you run a podcast with one and you're married to the other.
It's bad, got him, okay?
Oh, bad decisions by you, my friend. Yeah. Opposites attract, No? Okay.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Anyway, going back to the main point, hassle of going out, Karan. I think it's a new movement and it will take over the world, watch, genuinely. Social anxiety has gone through the roof. People don't want to go out as much.
Why do you think?
Come home.
So let's actually get into that. It's a really good point. What is the anxiety about? What is it scared of?
Catching COVID, being around too many people, socially interacting with people one-to-one, face-to-face again, having to hold a conversation, not having a distraction, like looking at your phone, not being able to veer off in other directions with your trail of thought without being judged by others. Like, people's attention span has just gotten shorter and shorter over the years. And as that's happened, meeting people one-to-one becomes a bit of an awkward interaction for them now.
Can I ask, during the proper lockdown periods, were you completely working at home?
Yes. I never went to the office once. The first time I went to the office at my last job was the last time I went. So I went once, and that was to go and collect one thing from my desk because I was leaving. That's it. And that was nearly a year on. Okay,
good. So this would be a good comparison. Whereas obviously I worked through that period, which meant going to hospital, which meant seeing lots of different people every single day. Didn't really feel like lockdown to me. So I guess for me, no real difference, seeing people. So from your point of view, the whole, like what we specifically just said there, I mean, you got married in this as well, this kind of era. going out and then seeing people interacting. Like I know we had that a couple of times where we went to the park and stuff during the lockdown period. How did you find that then? Did you have a sense of, were you aware?
I liked it. I was really looking forward to it because I like being around people, but I wasn't living on my own. I was living with mum and dad. So if I was living on my own, yeah, that would be super difficult because you sort of become a hermit. Is that the word? I think it is. Hermit, whichever. So
hermit is a homeless person who lives on their own.
No, so well, there's a certain word for it where people are content being on their own and they're just happy being indoors all the time.
Okay.
It rhymes with hermit, I think. I think it's Kermit then. Sorry.
Kermit's the frog man.
So I thought that too, but maybe it's that. I don't know. I might be making words up. I don't know.
How
just roll with me on this.
Sanj lived alone, right?
Yeah, she was fine.
Because?
But she was independent prior to this, so she probably knew how to be independent.
And she's routine based. Okay, so she's lived like in that lifestyle.
She knows how to live on her own, so she's fine. Imagine if you were enforced to live on your own at this point. Different, isn't it? It's not the same.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you still got the option to work from home now and you're not forced to go to the office, you want to stay at home. Because you know comfort at home, don't you?
Well, you say that. I was talking to a friend and, he's feeling a bit
like I said, everyone's different.
Bummed out.
It's going to change and vary, but yeah, go on.
And the whole kind of working from home 5 days a week, my advice to him was, dude, like, just do 1 day in the office. Just go to 1 day in the office and just get back to commuting. Enjoy that. Get some banter. Speak to people. Because I think with him specifically, I was like, you're feeling bummed out because you're just at home. You don't go to the gym. He works out at home as well. Right? So you do that on your own. You don't go out. You don't go out for work. You're just socially isolated, man. Like, and it's not a nice place to be in. And I think a lot of people go to a 3-2 mix. Maybe 2 days in the office, 3 days at home. I think that's a good mix.
I'm doing that.
You're doing that? Okay. You liking that?
I like it. Yeah, it's a good balance for me. On other days, I try and mix it up and do. Say if I'm going to work on the Thursday and Tuesday, I'll go to gym at work if possible, and then come home, like afterwards. That way, it's like
gym
2 birds.
At work. Explain that to me.
Yeah, so work have a gym at the place I can go to.
What? So you do it in the middle of the day, end of the day, start of the day?
End of the day. Never at the start of the day. Because
nice.
if it's at the start of the day, I've got to commute there early, really super early, and go and do that. It's not fun.
Okay, but again, like you said, once your home is done, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Your home is done.
Is the way for the gym, man. I do exactly the same as work, gym. Like today, had work full on, then had bloody 1.5 hours of PT leg day today, and then podcasting with you. It's a super long day.
Yeah,
but it's
so
done,
with that whole thing, like I understand the whole HOGO thing.
I still can't get through the name. Yeah, just it's gonna take me a while to. It's like you're saying Hugo Boss, HOGO.
Yeah, but people couldn't get around the word FOMO for years. It's just how it is.
FOMO does make more sense to me. HOGO, yeah, I don't know. I think the connotation is going to be, you lazy, or whatever.
Do you not think that it's a possibility though? Do you not think that it's going to catch on? Genuinely, see it from the other person's POV. Someone who's not been to the office.
It's too new for me, but let me say this: I will be sad if it becomes a thing.
Yeah, same. Of course I will.
That's not a world I want to live in, man. Where people just want to live in their own little boxes and talk through Zoom all the time, and do that. It has a place. These things have a place, and it is sometimes. Look, it's nice when sometimes we make plans, even Indy and I, and it's like last minute. Do you know what? Do you want to sack it off and just chill? Yes, that has a place as well. Being a bit spontaneous, but not a regular thing, man. Surely it's going to make the problem worse.
Agreed. It will make the problem worse. Bad times, man. But anyway, moving on to the next topic I want to bring up. We got a bunch of hate on YouTube.
Yeah, we did. All attention.
So basically, this means we're famous now, don't go? Like, yeah. What do you think? I think it is.
No, man. We look at
a lot of the things that we say. I didn't think it was this triggering, but apparently it is.
Well, you can reference a comment in a second, but in the words of Donald Trump, right? All attention is good attention, okay? And if there's a comment on there, let's create a thread, let's get conversation going, let's get a dialogue. It's just a chance to understand, man.
Oh, I did. I tried to. It didn't work out well. They said nothing back. Basically, the conversation was around our topic of tackling racism after the Euros.
Yeah.
when it happened.
Yeah.
And with all the racism that Saka, Rashford and Sancho endured, it was quite hefty. And recently, loads of people started seeing it on YouTube, loads by our standards, about 200 people or so. And someone wrote 2 comments. Number 1, racism isn't real or happening. Fuck off. Cool. And secondly, it doesn't make sense because it isn't happening, with about 15 exclamation marks at the end. So, yeah, and then I just wrote back saying triggered ? And I didn't get a response. So, yeah.
I might post something. Which school did you study at? Did you pass out? Did you pass from primary school?
Did you pass out?
Yeah, did you pass out?
Did you pass out in the lessons about RE?
Can you speak English?
Can you speak English? I don't think you type like it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, man. It was unexpected, to say the least. I was like, I haven't said anything inflammatory for a while,
How did you feel when you read it?
I laughed, man, because I know people like this exist, Karan. I've spoken to people like this. I'm just waiting for them to come out the woodwork. That's all.
Yeah.
There was this one person who jumped on one of our posts a couple of months back about the vaccine and their reasons for not having it, and he was jumping on this long thread, and I said, look, it's up to you if you don't. The gist of it was, it's up to you if you don't want to take it.
Yeah.
And he's trying to give me all these reasons behind it. And I'm sitting there thinking, some of the stuff you're saying doesn't actually make sense. And I called it out and say, look, it's up to you, but this, and this. It's up to you, but you've said this, and this, which isn't accurate. And one of his main backups was, I've been outdoors, I'm a builder, I'm a labourer, I've not caught it, I'm fine, it doesn't exist. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. If you want to say that, cool. I'm not going to try and concisely summarise this in a back and forth on Instagram comments. It's useless for both of us. It's a waste of both our times.
Absolutely. But it's like we said many times before, people's views are so polarised. It's the inability to accept someone else's viewpoint. You don't have to agree with it, but you can see it. And that's lost.
I can see it, and I'm
to
like,
be honest,
look, it's up to
how I
you,
shut
man.
people down now who say that kind of stuff. Open invitation. Whoever's listening, come to hospital with me, day 1, and I will show you what COVID looks like. Before then, don't talk about it not being real. It's as simple as that. End of conversation.
Agreed.
But yeah, it's nice.
It's mad, isn't it?
It's good, man. Like, if people are seeing the content, they've got a view in it. Because if they're taking the time to put a comment, they're watching, they're engaging. That's good for us, man.
Yeah, apparently, man. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
And the title of the video was how to stop racism or how to fix it, which was just when me and you were spitballing ideas on how to potentially fix it, whether it's education or dialogue or whatever. Like, yeah,
it's good clickbait title.
Maybe it caught on because of the Azeem issue that came on in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, might
so
be.
Coincidentally, we had that comment, and then a day after, Azeem came out, the cricketer who used to play for Yorkshire, was it?
Yeah, he was the under-19s captain, I think, for England as well. So
that's the one.
He is like, my God, the names that have been dropped into this now, like people all the way up to England level.
So hang on. So let's just give a little bit of context. Well, not context, an explanation. We should stop using the word context. So the explanation is, or backstory, I guess. He was a cricketer. He was dropped from the Yorkshire cricket team for being inflammatory or too problematic to work with. They were citing things such as him having, personal attitude issues, alcohol abuse, not looking after himself, discipline issues, etc. None of that came to be shown to be true. He wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary that none of the other players were doing. But one thing he was doing was he was essentially complaining about other players being subtly racist, bullying, having a bad culture there. And once he was exiled from his cricket team, he raised a grievance with us about it to all levels of cricket through all of his available networks, and they all basically failed him. There was an investigation into this whole thing, into Yorkshire's own cricket team, that was conducted by Yorkshire's own appointed team, which means it wasn't going to be conducted fairly, or what's the word?
Objectively, independently.
Impartially. Yeah, there was no impartiality behind it, and their conclusion was there is no racism here. There's nothing to see. And when they were asked to put out the findings about it, and a few things came out, I can't remember exactly what, showing how badly racist it was. Then it started to blow up. Then they pulled the report away and said, "Oh, sorry, we're still looking into this," and they tried to backtrack massively. Players have stepped down, ex-players have stepped down, people have left the Yorkshire cricket board. They've done so many things that have blown up as a result of it, all because he came out and spoke about it. Some of the shit that was thrown at him didn't surprise me, but it made me feel vindicated to know that it wasn't just me it used to happen to at school. In subtle racism things.
Oh,
subtle racist shit, man. I've spoken about this at my school, innit? And my school was very like... Yeah, it was very...
You're the brown kid.
I guess you can say upper class. I was a brown kid. And I understood a lot of the things that he was saying. And I was like, I felt like that. And a few of the things that have been outrightly said, you go through the networks and they say there's nothing to see here. So you just live with it. But at least he came out and spoke about it in the right way. And he dealt with it in the right way.
No, absolutely.
And followed it through.
I think when you get an audience full of MPs, you're getting some real traction, right? And like I said, the big boys have been called out, man. There's people like David Lloyd, who is a very prominent Sky Sports...
That messed with my head, man. David Lloyd. I'm like, this motherfucker owns gyms.
Is it the same David Lloyd?
I think it's the same David Lloyd, man.
I think it's just coincidence of name. He's not that mega rich, man. But,
is it? Hang on. Let me look.
David Lloyd, commonly known as Bumble, is a Sky Sports reporter, ex-England player, was the coach for England team as well. But a really good commentator. Like, I enjoy listening to his commentary. And then I heard about this. Essentially, he'd belittled...
Oh, wrong one. Sorry, the tennis player. Sorry.
Yeah. He'd belittled his thing. He said, no, it's not real. This never happened. You should look at his own conduct. And all these guys are now have come out. It's like a blanket statement they're all using. Like, I've read it so many times I can say it.
Unequivocally.
Unreservedly apologise.
Oh, unreservedly.
And I'm like, that is some bullshit lawyer term. But, Gary Balance, that was the big one he called out.
He was the one who was saying all the stuff to Azeem, calling him the P word. Just say how it is, man. Like Packy, there's nothing wrong with saying it because at the end of the day, if they can say it to him in a racial term, and if we can say it amongst ourselves as to what he said in front of MPs, it's fine. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's a big deal to us being it thrown at us, but for me and you to say it to each other, we can say this is what it is because we've been called that derogatory term. The same way how black people can use the M word, we can use that in our way to express it and not have to say P word. That's my opinion on it anyway. But carry on.
Yeah, and then you had another player who... So there was this whole thing about all non-white players were called Steve. So they had this generic name.
No, Keith? Steve?
Steve. And then there was a player who got a dog who was black and he calls his dog Steve. And there was this whole thing about...
Wasn't the dog called Keith, or have I got that wrong?
Man, you're just chatting shit today, man. Steve, look it up.
No,
look it up.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. You could be right. Sorry, man. I thought it was Keith. I don't know why.
Who's Keith, man? And then Pujara. Pujara is a very prominent player in India at the moment. Was obviously in the World Cup and things. Sorry, no, it wasn't the World Cup. He's in the recent tests. And they were like, we can't say your first name, so we're going to call you Steve. Right?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, there was one thing where he said at age 15, they held him down and poured
Steve.
Yeah, no, Steve. They poured red wine down his throat.
The red wine thing was...
Do you know what I mean? I was
really
age 15, it's like you're practicing Muslim. Like, this is... Yeah. And it's been corroborated by current England players.
Of course it has.
What's his name?
Rashid.
Yeah, Rashid, the spinner. He said, Moeen Ali, I don't think he said anything. Monty came out and I don't think Monty experienced anybody. He did say, this stuff was happening. And now it's meant that the ECB is looking at all the clubs. All the clubs are looking at it. And then the other thing that's happening in cricket at the same time is the Australian captain. So the Ashes is coming up now, guys. The Ashes obviously the big thing between England and Australia. It's in Australia, home advantage. But the captain has now resigned last Friday because of a texting scandal. Here's the best part, which was from 4 years ago. They knew about it, but now it's just been leaked. Like, very, very just
because
like...
now... Yeah, but equally, all the stuff that Azeem has done in the past in his life, they've tried to now blemish him with it.
Yeah.
So they said, he wrote something anti-Semitic. I was like, he wrote it 12 years ago on Facebook when he was a kid. Look, man, I really hate this culture of, like, tit for tat. Like, I don't like it. I hate this tit for tat.
Kevin Hart, when he was going to do the Oscars, he's going to be the host.
Yeah.
And then they found
and they pulled up old tweets
from, like,
about him.
And it's like, look, and he apologised. It's not like he didn't apologise, but it's like, that was then, different frame of mind, apologised, why are you going to keep holding it against me?
The part that made me feel a little bit like there's hope out there was that the Jewish community afterwards said, we accept his apology, we understand where he's coming from, we don't endorse the things he said, but at least his apology seems sincere,
Yeah.
and we stand behind him with his fight for racism. That's great.
That's great.
But now they're like moving on to other things, and I'm thinking, yo, I get it, you're really trying to discredit this man for trying to step up and talk about racism. Anything you can get about it, you're digging into. And I hate how people have to have this idea that everyone's perfect from a very early age. You never make any mistakes. You never say anything wrong. You're spotless, right? Everyone does everything perfectly.
Everyone has skeletons.
There is nothing wrong in your life. You've never said a swear word. You've never done anything extrovertedly out of your personality. You've never said anything wrong and looked back on it a few years later and said, shit, that was bad of me to say. Everyone's done it, man. I get it. But this whole witch hunt afterwards to discredit a person, it's horrible, and I hate this culture. It really pisses me off, and doing things like this is what stops others from rising up and saying something, because they're saying, oh, I don't want to have to be somebody who has to deal with some sort of smear on me afterwards.
Yeah, and obviously the unfortunate position when you listen to his story was that, well, look, there was points where it's like, say something, but then don't pay the bills. That's difficult, man. It's your primary.
And that's what he chose. He chose to say something and not pay the bills.
No, but initially, he's left cricket now. But
initially they paid him a massive. They offered to pay him a massive payout for everything, and he said no.
Yeah.
And he said it was life-changing money, and I'm like, yeah, I can see that. Now he's championing this and and we'll see where it goes. I hope something comes of it, but then again, I won't be surprised if in 3 weeks' time we don't hear anything about it and it's swept under the carpet.
I don't know. I think if it's got to the point
the
where
shit that Michael Vaughan said.
Michael Vaughan is.
I remember watching him and thinking like he was like a true person that was a good representation of English cricket.
No. He's like maybe he was playing, but as a commentator,
when I was a kid, I used to look at him and think that though.
Like the stuff he says about India, man.
No, now he is. No, but back then when he didn't have Twitter and he was just playing cricket.
Yeah, as a player,
that's all I knew.
As a player, maybe, but as a commentator, man, he's like one of the most inflammatory dudes out there, man. He just says so much shit.
Tell me more.
Nothing specific comes to mind, but he's just, he'll say things, and sometimes I'll literally in my head I feel like, why do you he'll say something like, why do you hate India so much? Like that's how much he'll put in his comments.
Really? Yeah, he'll rail on India that hard?
Yeah. And just Australia, and he's just so bitter like all the time. I'm glad like he's been called out, and his column's been taken away while it gets looked into.
He's getting his comeuppance.
Oh yeah.
And again, if people are going to try and throw it in my face saying, what, is he not allowed to make a mistake? I think it's a bit of a different circumstance. This was repetitive again and again. It wasn't like a one-off thing. I understand a one-off thing, maybe twice, but past that, it's done, man. Yeah. You can't do anything about that, especially if it's a habit. What did he actually say about Azeem?
I can't remember. I cannot remember.
Oh, was it him who got leaked he got leaked his statement early?
He did. That as in what Rafiq was going to say about him.
In his column.
When he he discredited him back. But he said the agreement was supposed to be that Azeem said I was supposed to be given notice and be shown what he was going to say, so I could have a chance to rebuttal as well. But he goes, I didn't get that. But yeah, it's good. Should be looked into. Let's see what.
And afterwards, he said over 1,000 people called the hotline that was set up for racism inquiries into cricket, and over 1,000 people called in a day. That's, you can't fake that, man.
Yeah, and from a purist cricket point of view, his point was, you look at grassroots cricket level. He said more than 50% across the UK grassroots level is Asians, right?
Yeah, it is.
So when you get to elite professional level, why is that number dwindling down to like 1%, 2%, whatever it is? Because we're just not represented at the highest level. Now, part of me wants to think that the best players are selected, and that should be irrespective if you're like, I don't want a team full of Asians.
I would like to think that
Afro-Caribbeans, just because you need I don't want to become like you need to have 2 Asians in the team, 2 white guys, to this. Like, that's just silly.
It shouldn't be a diversity thing. It shouldn't be a tick box. It should be on merit.
Yeah, exactly
I
what
agree.
Jordan Peterson says. It's equal opportunity, not equal outcomes. So the opportunity should be equal to everyone. And I want to believe...
But it's the opportunity that's missing there, Gary.
That's it, exactly. That's it, right? And again, obviously, we don't see what that's like. Like, how does selection work, and if you get the nod, and there's probably loads of players that are just really good that we just obviously never hear of because they just don't make it to that level.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, but when if he's somebody inside who's saying it, then obviously I believe it a little bit more than me just thinking about it, thinking, yeah, they're probably selecting the best players. But if he's saying it, then clearly there is an issue.
When he's sitting there and he's talking about how he was just overtly picked on after he lost his stillborn child, like that was...
Yeah, no, I don't think he was picked on. It was more like, he was like, where's the compassion and the empathy? Like, this is a life-changing thing.
It wasn't that. He was picked on because the day after it happened, he was taken aside and given an ear bashing off one of his coaches. And he thought, I don't need to be doing this right now. I've just lost my unborn child. And I was like, that's heartbreaking. How can you not show someone empathy that's been through that? And he referenced other players in the team that had faced similar circumstances and were given loads of empathy and loads of support, and he had nothing.
No, that's... How do you even go to work? That's his job, right? Like, how does that happen the next day you go to work? Like, there's no time to process it.
Can't, man.
But again,
can't. It's
bills to pay. If they don't allow, like, that's...
It genuinely hurts my heart when I sit there and think, like, just putting myself in those shoes, having to do something like that. It just, on a deep level, it fucks with you, man. Like, it really does. And I know he's had other children and stuff afterwards and beforehand, but it's not the same.
You're not going to forget.
It's still going to stay with you. You're never going to forget that feeling. You're never going to forget how you made people feel. Sorry, how people made you feel. That's one thing that you learn in life. It's never about the things you do to people. It's how you made them feel. That's what tends to inflict the most pain. It's never the action. It's more the feeling afterwards. So... word of wisdom, I guess. But with
the council guys, anyone's interested? Some sessions.
with the whole thing with cricket, people were pointing to football, saying football's fantastic. It's handled racism much better. I said no.
There's more awareness.
It's not.
It's just the first time in cricket like it's actually been talked about. Whereas football is like, oh, okay, yeah. They talk about its awareness.
Yeah. In football, it's more commonly known, and football has way more. I guess football's a little further ahead in the sense that it understands there is a racism problem, and they have a lot more representation at player level, not at coaching level, at player level. It's still tiered. So, say in the NFL, barely any black coaches, but it's a full black man sport. It's kind of similar in football. You have a lot of multicultural players and you don't have any of them reaching coaching level or board level or whatever. It's all very white. And it's the same thing at cricket. It's just everything steps behind one another in different areas and aspects.
Question, again, I don't watch much football, but obviously I know a lot of Asians and Asian parents are like, pushing the kids to football, right? Okay, maybe some make it a high level. But I can't imagine in our culture someone saying, go and pursue being a coach. So is it that they generally aren't Asian people are interested in being coaches? Or give me a view on that.
The thing is, when it comes to coaching at the very top level in football, it's very similar to how in cricket it's very who you know, not what you know. There's a lot of coaches in there that shouldn't actually be getting a job at the top level. Some of them aren't even getting opportunities that they are deserved of. And they're not white. So there's a very harsh imbalance there. I don't think it's fair that a lot of coaches are given jobs based on the fact that they were once upon a time a footballer. Just because you were a footballer doesn't mean that you're a great coach.
Yeah, agreed. But you can only pick, like, say there's 10 coaches, right?
I get it. There's only 20 jobs in the Premier League. There's only 20 jobs available. Yes.
No, not the jobs. Say there's 20 coaches. Even if it was shit, there's no one else to pick. So what I'm asking you is, do you know an Indian football coach?
No, I don't. But there's loads of coaches to pick from, and I think coaches don't go into that space. Yeah, I think I don't know how many non-white coaches there are, but if you think of it this way, to become a coach in football costs you a lot of money.
Right.
It's not cheap.
Right.
You have to get licenses, you have to do courses, etc. Now, if you're going to go down that avenue, you're going to want some return on it to make sure you are going to get a job in coaching afterwards.
Correct.
You can't guarantee that in football. It's all based on who you know and how you can get into certain places, especially at coaching. It's never based on, well, sometimes it is based on meritocracy, but sometimes it isn't based on any of that. It's just based on, oh, he seems suitable for us and that's it, done.
Mm-hmm.
I see you smiling there. Is everything all right?
Yeah, shouldn't eat in chocolate.
Interesting. So yeah, man, it's dodgy, and I think everything always has that level of corruption or bias based into it. It's sport. It's one of those things I guess we just learn to accept, even though we shouldn't learn to accept it.
Yeah, it becomes so normal that until these things come to play, like this has come to play, I just don't think, like, I think whoever starting 11 for England when they play cricket, I'm like, that's the best 11. I don't think, oh, this is equal, there's no equal opportunity here. And then this comes up and then you start thinking about it. You become so, it becomes so normalised, accustomed to it, conditioned. You just, it is what it is. Do you know what I mean?
It's true. And the numbers are getting worse and worse, aren't they? It's shrinking more and more when it comes to cricket. There's less and less ethnic players getting into cricket at the top level. Seems very ominous, and it seems that there's a bigger problem there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there's I don't know the way to fix cricket because I'm not available. I'm not educated enough in that space.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how cricket works when it comes to coaching and implementation and grassroots. But clearly, there's something a bit off there, isn't there?
Let's follow that story. Let's see where it goes and
see where it goes, man.
The changes and outcomes and things are.
Touching on the topic of racism, there was a documentary on the weekend. It's a 2-part documentary done by Sathnam Sanghera. So he's the author who wrote The Boy with a Top Knot, I think it is.
Okay.
No, The Boy with a Top Knot. Oh, fucking no. I'm sorry, man. I'm not with it today. Let me type it in. Sathnam Sanghera.
That's interesting. See, the first time you said Satnam.
The Boy with the Top Knot.
And
there we go.
This is Satnam.
Sathnam Sanghera. Satnam. It depends how you say it. How do you think his name's spelled? This is what I find interesting.
Okay, that's another question. But do we have a responsibility to say our names correctly?
Yes, we do. Sathnam Sanghera. Right.
Okay, how do you spell
Sathnam.
it?
So
spelling in terms of English spelling, Romanized English.
English spelling. Yeah.
So
yeah,
I would say, the typical is going to be SATNAM, or it's going to be SATAAM.
No, it's SATHNAM. SATHNAM. Sathnam.
The silent H.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Would not have guessed.
So he wrote a book based on being a Sikh kid growing up, cutting his hair, etc., having a dad who was suffering from mental health illnesses.
Right.
And it was not animated, it was written and done on the BBC.
Okay.
And they spoke about it and they made a series on it. It was really good. You should definitely watch it if you can. What he's done now, though, is he obviously wrote that book, Empireland, based on colonial history in Britain, and how Britain has a long-standing history of, invading and having subtle racial undertones. Yeah, all that stuff. And all that shit, rule Britannia screwed the world, all that. So what he's done is he's put together this show called Empire State of Mind, which is very similar to the Jay-Z song Empire State of Mind, but it's not the same thing.
I was going to say,
it's essentially saying...
It's good branding.
It does make me think that as well. I'm hoping maybe this will be one step in the direction of trying to change that thought mentality. But he was really good with it, man. He broke it down into how Britain still has very subtle racial undertones of what's happened, looking back at colonial history and how Sikhs were actually in on it, to helping the British conquer India and supporting them through army work and whatnot, because they were just obedient, essentially.
Right.
They wanted to get a step up and be good people. And it was heartbreaking to watch it again. It's a tough watch, but it doesn't tell me anything I don't know about Britain or anything that I didn't know already exists. For example, the flags were taken down in Cornwall.
Flags being,
or in a little town in Cornwall. Flags being, British flags.
Okay.
They were taken down in Cornwall by a black mayor, and she gets so much abuse for it all the time because they think that she's trying to make it non-British by doing something like that.
What was the reason for her to take down the flags?
I think she said something like it just didn't need to be up all the time, or some other reason along those lines. I don't understand why you would have the flag up showing all the time. It wasn't one flag; it was like numerous flags all the time.
Like over the top patriotism.
I think so. Yeah, I think it was definitely over the top patriotism. I mean, she gets death threats and stuff all the time, and abuse held at her for it. I don't know why people are so
why do they care
defensive
so much?
over a flag. It's a flag.
This is a question I often ask myself. Is when I see people get triggered or have an opinion on something, it's like, how can you care so deeply about that? It's disproportionate about people care about something so much.
Exactly.
I get it.
And when you sit there and look at the guy who they managed to get one guy on TV, they were knocking around the houses saying, "What do you think about this?" And this guy, you could tell he was just in like a zombie mode, and reeling off all the hatred that he'd been fed over the years. Just reading like they're coming in to take our jobs, or just like really standard trigger words and stuff. And I was like looking at him and I'm thinking, that poor guy, man, he doesn't know the stuff that he's saying and he hasn't looked at the validity behind it. He's just lapping it up because he thinks it's true. That was horrible. And it's just, he really emphasises how over the top racist Britain used to be, and how now it's still got little bits of it in there, but now it's more subtle and more accepted. He had the guy on from, he used to be the head of UKIP.
Oh, okay.
And he spoke to him one-to-one and he asked him, "Are you racist?" He said, "I'm not a racist." And he said, "But you go to things where a lot of racist people go to, and you congregate there and you speak." And he tried to maneuver his way out of it in a subtle way, saying, "Well, I went to that because they asked me to speak at it and they were just coincidentally the hosts." And he said, "But you know what you were doing when you were doing that."
That's interesting though. So why would the former UKIP leader...
Yeah.
Right. Why would a former UKIP leader agree to be interviewed?
I don't know. I think genuinely he thinks he's not doing anything wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
But Satnam's saying, can you see how it looks like you are doing this, and how it's perceived,
the problem is, if you're
how you're being used to endorse a right-wing ideology, like a heavy right...
If you're somebody of influence, irrespective of your views, it almost doesn't matter what your views are. It's what you personify. It's what you embody.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody, let's say, who's weak-minded, or somebody who will easily adopt the values of others or the ideology of something bigger than them because they want to be part of the movement, then that's it, man. They're your people. They're the people you're going to corrupt very easily. But you're right. You have your responsibility, your personal responsibility to be like, what is it that I believe, and is that actually being, shown and portrayed, and my message actually getting out to the masses?
Yeah. And he's done it incredibly well, to the point where, he's obviously had some abuse still over the years for his book Empireland. And with this, he got some abuse back. But some people who are British are saying, no, you should tell the story. People didn't know that there were slaves in Scotland. I didn't know that there were slaves in Scotland.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that at all. And one thing that crossed my mind when I was watching it with Sanj, we sat there and said, we should kind of be glad that we can't look too far back into our history, because we've obviously migrated from like further up in Asia and whatnot. We've probably been pushed down into India.
Right.
But imagine if we could keep on going back and back and back and back and see if like our ancestors were actually quite evil, and see if they had a bad history. Imagine that. Imagine knowing that. I was like, damn, I kind of am glad that I don't know that.
Live in the kind of naivety of your immediate...
Of ignorance, I guess. Because looking that far back, you could find something really, really deep and dark that you don't want to know, or you don't want to find out. Yeah,
and then how does it impact you, living your life going forward? Again, it's not...
It probably impacts it heavily.
Yeah, and it's not you, is it? That's the thing.
It's not. No, it isn't you. And obviously, only you can live your life the way that you think is correct. But it does change your perspective on what your family used to do. So one of the guys that Satnam was interviewing, he was a slave owner, and he only found out recently that his ancestors were slave owners.
Okay.
And he's going through a ledger. And on the ledger, he's saying, a child is worth like £30. And he said, but a horse is worth 60. Little things like that, where like animals are worth more than slave children. Just full dehumanizing. It's it's so rough to just sit back and watch and think that wasn't that long ago that all these things happened.
That's the thing that really, anything in history where we look at it and think, bloody hell, genocide is a good example. World War II, that wasn't long ago, man. It wasn't long ago.
It was so close.
1984 in India, like these things happen, and you're like, when these things happen, people at the time would have thought this is never going to happen. Then it happens, and then we look at it retrospectively in history. We're like, okay, we learned from it now. It's not going to happen again. What does history?
Yeah.
What does history teach us? Everything will repeat itself. So
yeah,
it is scary when you look at that perspective. That things can happen, and unknowingly. I think that's the point. I think at the time when things happen, you don't necessarily know. We look at things clearly and read it in a history textbook and be like, oh yeah, that looks obvious. Why would you not know? Why would you not leave Germany knowing that all Jewish people are going to be killed? Sounds really easy to say. Like there's a lot of... did I read somebody said something like, I want to say that if I saw Hitler speaking, I would know this is pure evil and I would leave. But actually, I think I would have been inspired by what he was doing and I would have joined the movement. And this is not a Nazi.
He was charismatic as hell. This is one thing people don't understand. He was so focused and he was so charismatic with the way that he would say things and what he was able to do and how he was able to alienate a whole race of people. It was kind of genius.
Yes.
I'm not praising his work, but I'm saying it was psychopathically genius, the stuff he was doing. And it's scary that someone who has just simply those characteristics can manipulate people into believing that.
On that level.
On that level. I was hearing on a podcast, I think it was someone who was on with Rogan saying, no, it was Jordan Peterson, maybe, or whoever. What they were talking about was that Hitler, he shot himself in the foot, basically, when it came to the war. He became overly cocky, overly powerful to the point where his subordinates would become scared to tell him bad news.
Yep.
And because they didn't tell him bad news and he thought everything was going great, they ended up losing ground.
This is the famous, I don't know if you've seen, I think it's called The Last Bunker or something. It's on Netflix. And this is a depiction they've had of Hitler, that when he gets towards the end of the war, they've got this map open, these moving troops. But he's moving like the battalion saying, yeah, put 1,000 people here, 1,000 people here. His generals are like, there's nobody there. You're moving these things on a map, but there's no one there. But you're right, they just don't tell him. They're like, yes, mein Führer, yes, mein Führer. And they keep saying it to him.
Yeah.
Like, you're just moving things on a map. There's no one out there. They're about to invade the bunker and you're still moving all this stuff. So yeah. It was Peterson. I think I saw that video.
And also he was on a massive cocktail of drugs.
Yeah.
He was on all the drugs and he was taking so much testosterone. Everything, man.
He was not well. He's not well.
No.
I mean, there is a lot. There's a lot out there though to suggest that he didn't die in the bunker. He didn't shoot himself, and he did escape to Argentina. There's a lot of eyewitness testimony that came out that 5 days before the Russians invaded Berlin, he flew out and lived.
There's a full-blown Nazi encampment in Argentina, isn't there?
Yeah.
Of people that sort of moved over into there and they just lived their life.
Yeah. They're like, you had the capitalists who basically were producing the money. That's what it shows in this one kind of semi-documentary film they've made about this, that they basically, people went ahead of 1945. They knew the war was going to not end well. They went to the South America, Argentina. They set up camp. They built quarters for Hitler and all the highest SS officials to come over. And there was they've got schools. They found like schools where like swastikas are still there and Heil Hitler is still there, and so this stuff, it's not there without a reason.
No smoke without fire.
No smoke without fire, absolutely. So yeah.
Crazy shit, man. We were going to talk about the farmers' movement, but we've got Harvey Norjwani coming on in a couple of weeks' time to talk us through it. And he's going to tell us, why it's not actually a great thing that this has happened, and give us the real journalistic insight behind why it's taken this long to get here, what it actually means, etc. So we'll be covering that in depth in a separate podcast. It's coming out in 2 weeks' time.
Lovely.
So bear with us, guys. We haven't forgotten about it. That was our big go-to story this week. And yes, we will be tackling that. So I think we'll leave it here for this week. Karan, thank you for joining me. Guys, if you made it this far, please do like the video. Please do subscribe. And hopefully, if things have gone well, this is now available on Spotify in video format.
Can I ask?
I hope.
That's like big news, man.
I mean, yeah.
Joe Rogan's got that. I don't know any other
this
podcasts.
This is the thing. What happened was I sent an application off for us to go and be eligible for this through Anchor. Yeah. But then I don't know if Spotify pre-launched it early and everyone can do it now. So let me have a look and then we can maybe celebrate another time if we actually certify it or not.
Like Joe Rogan, Indian Doctor Podcast.
Not the same level, mate. We are not the same.
That's pretty cool though, man. That is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is, man. It is. It's a nice thought. If I can get it up and running, hopefully everyone can see this on Spotify as well with our lovely faces and a nice little intro and a nice little blurb at the start of this. And hopefully it'll be like this forever. Yay. Okay, cool. Right. Talk to you soon, guys. Take care. Oh, shit. I didn't press the record button.
On what?
I didn't press record on here.
Oh. We'll just have the audio.
So what I've done is, it's on audio here,
yeah.
And we're going to have to go with audio for this whole week.
Yeah, it's fine.
Which is fine. It's not the worst thing.
Yeah.
But I genuinely didn't press record.
It's okay.
Well, looks like we're going to have to leave it there then, guys. I ain't got much more to tell you.
So it's not going to be on Spotify this week?
It's not going to be on Spotify this week. It will be on Spotify next week. Or actually, you might have seen the previous weeks on Spotify. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Gary, we've only done 56 minutes and this is our shortest podcast ever. But however, it's 10:15.
I think we should have...
And we kind of need to go to bed.
Guys, you want to do a vote of no confidence in Indy? Should we have that? No...
A vote of confidence in what?
Vote of no confidence in Indy.
Vote of no confidence in me. Yeah, I'm tired, man.
You didn't press record.
I didn't press record. That's the first time I've ever not pressed record on here. But at least we got the audio on here that we can just sync up straight away.
Absolutely.
So it should work.
Absolutely.
I hope.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway. Right, I'll see you guys next week. Take care.